What images or symbols do you associate with Advent? Pink and purple candles? Cozy nativity scenes on soft-hued Hallmark cards? Pull-tab calendars with chocolates tucked inside? What about a thief prowling outside your house, stealthy and silent? Your front door torn off its hinges, shattered glass in your foyer, and a stranger's footsteps on your stairs. What about your most prized possessions disappearing while you sleep? Do these images seem Adventish to you? They don't to me. And yet, these are the images our gospel reading for the first Sunday of Advent gives us. A homeowner caught off guard, a house that has been broken into, the Son of Man coming at an unexpected hour like a thief in the night. There's no way around it. These images are disturbing. Maybe even terrifying, if you've ever had a house broken into. They don't jive with the Jesus we think we know. The Jesus in the manger, the Jesus on the cross, the Jesus who feeds and forgives and heals and saves. The Jesus Matthew describes in this apocalyptic passage is no respecter of boundaries. He's not invested in the status quo. He doesn't care about keeping us secure and comfortable, and he's not thwarted at all by our elaborate defense mechanisms. The Jesus Matthew describes is an invader, an intruder, a disruptor, a criminal. So here's a question for our new liturgical season. What should we do with the Son of Man who describes himself as a robber? How should we respond to a Jesus who shows up and takes things away from us? Things we care about, things we depend on, things we're 100% sure we can't live without. There are three possibilities I'd like to explore. First, we should recognize that we are asleep. Jesus likens the coming of the Son of Man to the days of Noah's flood. Before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, Jesus says. They knew nothing until the flood came and swept them all away. It's so hard, so very, very hard to accept the fact that we are not awake, that we're missing profound spiritual realities because we're fast asleep in the ordinary and the mundane. We want to believe that the status quo will save us. We want to believe that business as usual will be good enough to keep us attuned to God. We want to pretend that Christianity will never require anything hard or costly of us. And yet, the message of Advent is, wake up. The message of Matthew in our lectionary reading is, keep watch. The call of the season is to recognize that we're not paying attention to what really matters. To confess that we are alive and yet dangerously asleep. Second, we should surrender our certainties. The implication of the thief in the night analogy is that Jesus isn't going to come in the guises we expect. If we think we have religion pinned down, if we think we know what Revelation looks like, if we think we have Jesus all figured out, then we are in for an unpleasant surprise. If, on the other hand, we approach with our hands wide open, if we confess that we don't even know what to look for or where, if we empty ourselves of all preconceived notions of God and train our hearts to expect the unexpected, then we will be able to receive the real Jesus with joy when he appears. And third, we should prepare to be robbed. During Advent, we are called to make room for the long-anticipated Christ, to prepare space for the beautiful new life that is coming. But how can we do this if we're already filled to the rafters. Maybe Jesus comes as a thief because we need to be robbed. Maybe Jesus breaks in because our valuables have become liabilities, and we need an intruder to sweep in and take what we won't willingly give up. What are we clinging to that Jesus needs to steal? Our apathy? Our self-righteousness? Our fears? Our unforgiveness? It's no coincidence that Jesus comes when we're asleep and vulnerable. When else would we relinquish the false gods we cling to? How else would we cooperate with the deep work of God in our lives? In a sermon entitled "The Face in the Sky," Frederick Bruckner describes the incarnation as a kind of scandal, one that requires us to ponder the shocking unpredictability of God. He says, "Those who believe in God can never in a way be sure of him again. Once they have seen him in the stable, they can never be sure where he will appear, or to what lengths he will go, or to what ludicrous depths of self-humiliation he will descend in his wild pursuit of humankind. If holiness and the awful power and majesty of God were present in this least auspicious of all events, this birth of a peasant's child, then there is no place or time so lowly and earthbound that holiness can be present there too." What are we to make of this? The God who is limitless chooses limits. One womb, one backwater town, one bygone century, one brief life, one agonizing death. The salvation we long for is not the salvation he brings. These are not easy or comfortable truths to accept. They're truths to wrestle with hard and long. In other words, if we're not at least slightly bewildered, we haven't been paying attention. In seminary, I had a classmate that didn't grow up observing Advent. Her childhood church didn't follow the liturgical calendar, so the holiday lineup she remembered went straight from Thanksgiving turkeys and pumpkin pies to Christmas trees and jingle bells. One consumer feeding frenzy passing hard to the next. But as she moved deeper into the liturgical tradition, she came to love the holy season we're now entering. And I agree. I love that the church begins its new year when the days are still getting darker. I love that the season rejects shallow sentimentality and false cheer. I love that the gospel gets us started with images that startle us out of our complacency, not swaddling clothes, twinkly stars, and fleecy lambs, but Jesus as relentless pursuer of our souls. Jesus as thief. American novelist Flannery O'Connor once wrote, "To the hard of hearing you shout, and for the almost blind you draw large and startling figures." That's precisely what Jesus does in his prophetic wake-up call. He shouts, he draws startling figures, and he uses every rhetorical device at his disposal to snap his listeners to attention. Be on guard, he warns his disciples. Be alert. Stand up and raise your heads. Look. These aren't the soothing, sentimental invitations we like to accept as we shop for gifts, decorate Christmas trees, and sing carols. But as Episcopal priest Fleming Rutledge reminds us, Advent begins in the dark. It is not a season for the faint of heart. Whether we like it or not, the invitations Advent offers us are hard-edged. They don't look pretty on greeting cards, but they are essential and life-giving nevertheless. They help us to prepare for the birth that is almost at hand. They help us stay alert. They help us receive Jesus in all the shocking and scandalous ways he chooses to appear. So this Advent, our prayer, help us. Amen. Announcements. Oh, this Saturday is the Christmas Parade Sidewalk Concessions, and this Wednesday starts the Advent Soup and Supper. They begin at 6:30, and they use the book that's up here, correct? Pub Theology will then be the following week. Anything else? And then the Bishop's Visit, December 11th. So, as well as the Stained Glass Tour, also on December 11th. And the second Sunday camp. Anything else I need to highlight?
In the parish hall, there's a sign up if you would like to donate for the poinsettias that we'll have when we bring the church on December 18th. Sign up sheet for that, a sign up sheet for the kitchen that we'll do when Bishop Jennifer's with us. And then if you would like to bring soup for the soup supper, we typically have 1 or 2 families bring a soup. And we have somebody lead the discussion, but we have a guide that goes with the book, so you're just kind of reading the notes from the guide, and we'll have those available during coffee hour today too.
And what time do you want everyone here for the parade on Saturday?
3:30.
I will take care of getting all the food for that.
Cool, thank you. Any birthdays or anniversaries? Awesome. Alrighty then. Ascribe to the Lord the honor due his name, bring offering, and come into his courts.